Hello Technology World, this is your host Gabriel Smith with the second webcast on installing Apache Web Services as well as the FTP Services on the Linux box. Now the first webcast was basically a dry walkthrough of the commands that we use. This is actually going to be a command line walkthrough. So let's take a quick look at FileZilla. This is what it looked. Oh, one second here. This is what FileZilla looks like. Let me just get rid of this, all the information that's already there. So what you're going to see basically is you're going to see your files on the left hand side and you're going to see the FTP server files on the right hand side. You can get a copy of FileZilla at filezilla-project.org. Moving right along here. So to get started installing the FTP services, you simply want to make sure you're in the super user mode. You do that by typing lowercase su and hyphen, and this is going to make sure that you actually assume the profile of the super user. So you're not only the super user, but you have the profile as well. To install FTP is really simple. Type yum install -y vsftpd. The reason we type -y is so that it automatically answers yes to all the prompts. So that's installed. The next step for us is to actually uncomment some files or some lines in the etc vsftp vsftpd.conf file. So I'm going to use the VI editor. If you are inexperienced with VI editor, this is not something you want to use until you train yourself on it. You would want to use the GNOME editor, and you can basically use your graphical user interface to find the GNOME editor. But again, I'm using VI here, so. And what I'm doing now is that I'm going to uncomment several lines that are necessary in order to get the FTP services working the way that we want it to work. I'm basically tweaking the FTP daemon. Okay, I'm done with that. I type WQ to exit and just moving right along here. So the next step is to basically add my user ID or the ID that I intend to use for FTP to the /etc vsftp/change root list file. And I've actually already done that, so I'm just going to confirm that I've done it. And I just VI'd the file and my ID is there. So perfect. I'm just going to quit and get out of this. Okay. Next, we want to turn off security Linux. That's done by sudo set enforce, or just set enforce. I'm already root, so I could have just typed set enforce 0. Now that's going to temporarily disable it. To disable it across reboots, you want to basically modify the configuration file for security Linux, which is etc se linux config. Let's do that. I've already modified it, but I'm just going to VI just to show you what you would change. So basically, where you see here se linux equals disable, before I think it was permissive. No, it wasn't permissive. It had enforcing. So I just totally disabled it. Again, this is not a good idea for using a production box. You don't want to do this, but to eliminate variables from troubleshooting processes we may have to go through, I've decided to eliminate the security Linux as well as the firewall services. And that way, if we have any problems we can reboot multiple times, and we won't have to worry about, is it the firewall or is it security Linux. We know those aren't the issues because we've already disabled them. So that's done. I'm just going to get out of that configuration file. Okay, so now at this point we want to make sure that we turn the services, the FTP service, on for all of the necessary run levels. And that's check config vsftp _run level. The only run levels we are really concerned about here is 2, 4, and 5. 6 is reboot, so we don't need that. So yeah, 2, 3, 4, and 5 should be fine for us. And if we want to confirm that the run levels have been turned on, you would type check config, which would tell you all your run levels for all your services. But we just want to grab or grep the vsftp daemon, and we can see that for run level 2 it's on, for run level 3 it's on. 4, actually we didn't need 4. 4 is user defined, but fine, it's on anyway. And then 5, it's on, so perfect. Moving right along. Actually, yeah, okay, moving along. Okay, so to actually start the FTP service, we type service vsftp start. And it started. Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and turn off the firewalls. And what we're going to do first is make the firewalls, turn off the firewalls across reboot by changing the state. We're going to do that for the normal TCP/IP firewall as well as the TCP/IP version 6 firewalls. You actually have 2. So those are off. Now we just want to turn off the service. And again, this is not something that is recommended on a production box. It's something that you would do just to eliminate the firewall variable when you're trying to troubleshoot, which we may or may not have to do here. So, okay, so we've stopped all the services. So now we can just use FileZilla to see if it's working. And again, I decided to use FileZilla because I found that for whatever reason they made some major changes in the Microsoft client FTP cert client, and I just decided that I didn't want to use that anymore because there were too many headaches when it came down to listing directories and things of that nature. So at any rate, we're connecting now, and perfect. Now we can see that we have our files on the left and the FTP server files on the right, and it's actually put, it doesn't say this here, but we're actually in our home directory on the FTP server here. So why don't we go ahead, I've already grabbed one document over, I'll just grab another just so that you can see it works. We can grab, how about we just delete the file that's already there? Yes. And we'll bring it over again. Okay, perfect. It's installed, it's up, and it's running. So now if we go to our home directory on the FTP server, typo. And we go to the documents, which I believe is spelled with a capital D. And there's a file that we pulled over. Intermediate Solaris Administration PDF. Perfect. So the FTP client is running perfectly. Alright, so now let's take a quick look on getting the Apache Web Service installed. Yum install -y httpd is the command that we need. Once that's done, we want to basically start the service. And installing Apache is extremely easy. Let's try this again. I didn't get the green confirmation OK image that I was looking for. Let's just make sure it's working. Okay, it's running. Whatever. Okay, it's running. Alright, so now we're just going to make sure it's going to start on run levels 2, 3, and 5. Perfect. Okay, now believe it or not, that's pretty much it. Of course, depending on the project you're working on, you would want to tweak the configuration file, which is this here. I'll just cat it just so you can get a quick peek at it. So it's just like any other configuration file on the Linux boxes. So the configuration file basically gives you a brief description of what the settings are, and then if you want to take something out, you basically put a £sign by it and comment it. So that's that. Have fun with that and enjoy. Now, your web pages will be in this directory, var www.html. So I'm just going to change that directory and list the contents. And you can see that I already have an index.html. I'm just going to delete that. Yes, I would like to delete it. And I'm actually going to restart the services. The HTTP service. And the reason I'm doing this is because I removed that file and I want the server to know that that file is gone. So now if I go to 192.168.1.115, which is the address of my server, bam, I get the welcome page that you would see if you're installing Apache for the first time. If I go back and I recreate that file, I'm going to put in a sample web page just so that you can see that it's up and running. And again, I want to restart the service. Perfect, the service is restarted. So now if I go back and I refresh, it says you're welcome to your web page. This site is under construction. So we know everything is up and running and it's fine. This is pretty much the conclusion to this webcast. Definitely have a look at my website, www.unixsystemresources.com. Any questions, comments, concerns, send me an email at bz386@gmail.com. Thank you for your time.